Well, here we are, friends. Another episode of Freedom from Alcohol. Welcome, welcome.
Yeah.
Glad to have you here. My name is Chris Shatek, and this is Matt Gardiner. What's up, buddy?
Hello, hello. Hey, everybody. Hey, Chris.
We are missing one of our three wheels today. Lauren is out, not feeling so well. So we wish her well. But I think we can hold down the fort. What do you think, Matt?
Oh, yeah, we got it. Yeah, I remember you and I did a podcast. Oh, back in March there. You had you on my show. And yeah, I think we killed it. It was like a good 45 to an hour. No problems. I mean, you got your background in radio. We got this.
Yeah, I mean, I could sit and talk and talk and talk. I don't know if I'm making any sense, but I could talk, a
Yeah,
lot,
exactly. Yeah.
make it sound like I know what I'm talking about.
There we go.
I mean, let's just talk about that. That's kind of interesting, right? It's like um somebody asked me the other day, like, well, what kind of credentials do you have? And I'm like, well,
I saw
I
that.
lived it, and I've gone through this, and in working with as many clients as have, you start to kind of see the patterns, you start to kind of figure it out. So I am no expert, and I never claimed to be. I just know what I've gone through, and I've seen um, so many people kind of fall into that same category. So I just speak from experience, and that's all we can come from, right? So,
Yeah.
but I think that's helpful to hear it from people that have actually been there. There's nothing worse than you know, talking to people who haven't been through what you've been through, and they're just kind of making stuff up. It's like,
Yeah.
you know, you get out of that what you get out of it. But so what we want to talk about today is the moderation game, because I think everybody who struggles with alcohol at some point hopes and wishes and tries to do the moderation thing. And I know I certainly did many times, and ultimately it just didn't work for me. And I think it just doesn't work for once you've kind of crossed that line, right, where you can't take it or leave it, and you're finding yourself coming to it more and more. The moderation thing kind of goes out the window. And I say that because I've talked to so many people who have tried it, myself included, Matt included, and it just
Mhm.
doesn't work. I mean, what are your thoughts on what did you try to play the moderation game?
Yeah, man, for sure. For a very long time, actually. So, just for anybody that's like tuning in for the first time, a brief history of myself. I had about 3 years, 3 months alcohol free, 2012 to 2015, and then had this period of attempts of moderation for probably about that same thing, 3.5, 4 years. And now I've been alcohol free for the last 40. So there was, I'd say, out of the last decade, a good third of that was literally just trying every moderation technique that I could think of. I fancy myself self-aware, and I've done all this self-improvement over the years. So I'm like, okay, I can figure something that's going to work for me. And dude, I tried, and we can get into the different methods because some of them are quite funny. I'm sure a lot of
Yeah.
people will be able to relate to them. But yeah, I tried for literally for years, Chris, and I didn't find a single thing that worked for me.
Yeah. So what did you try? Putting the rules on yourself. Let's talk about
Yeah,
it.
man. Oh yeah, some of these are great. So I said, I'll just keep the alcohol in the garage. So the garage is a detached garage, a little bit of space between me and the garage. Before you know it, I'm spending my evenings in the garage. I'm spending a lot of time in the garage. Okay, so I'm
Funny
like,
how
well,
that
no,
works.
right? And
Yeah.
then I'm like, okay, so that didn't work. I'm like, no booze around the house. So we'll only have booze when we go out. We only go out maybe once a week. Before you know it, we're going out 3-4 times a week. I'm like, okay, and we're spending all this money on this salty, not good for you food as well. So it's increasing the bills that way, that are involved with alcohol. So that didn't work. So then we're like, well, we did just on weekends, and then before you know it, every single weekend is a long weekend, a 4-day
Right.
weekend, no matter
Yeah.
what, right?
All of a sudden, Thursday's part of the weekend,
Thursday's
and
part. It's close enough. It's close enough.
Wednesday. We're getting there. Yeah, exactly.
Wednesday's hump day, like you're about to go into the weekend. So
Yeah.
all of a sudden, all these other days started tagging on. I left the beer out in the hallway warm. I'm like, well, I'm not gonna. I detest warm beer. I refuse to drink it, and then I would drink an entire case of warm beer.
Yeah.
There's many different ways. Oh yeah, I decided that I would drink like more high scale beer, I guess, like higher end, because I would used to drink like Lucky Lager and the cheap stuff, right, the good stuff. And then
Well,
I'm like,
Matt,
well,
we should preface Matt's from Canada, so I've never heard of that Lucky Lager. That must be a Canadian thing.
well, Yes, it must be. Yeah, yeah. It's,
I've
it's
heard of
yeah,
Labatt, but
I called it yeah, you know, Labatt. I called it the champagne of cheap beer, Lucky Lager. Yes,
okay.
yes. So anyway, so that was my poison of choice the first time around. So the second time after I started into that moderation, also to help me myself feel better about myself, I would buy like local, because by that time it was like 2017. So all these like craft breweries are opening up, and so there's a bunch of those showing up in town here. I'm like, well, I'll support local businesses. It's more expensive, so certainly I won't be drinking 12 at a time, because it's like twice the price of the other stuff I used to drink. And then I'd be crossing that line very quickly. I'd be bringing home a case of that. You know what I mean? So just every moderation attempt or like some kind of reframing attempt on it, I just blew right through it, usually within the first attempt at it.
Yeah, and I've done all the same things, all the rules. I'm not going to drink during the week, and I'm just going to have beer, no more, whiskey or vodka, because that's better for me. Just wine, all the same stuff. It's kind of funny you were talking about hiding and putting it in the garage. I think too, when I tried to quit smoking so many times, it just reminded me I used to take a pack of cigarettes and put them way back in the linen closet. So like I had to work a little bit harder to get them. That did nothing for me. I literally, you know what I mean? So it's just it's such a mind F when we have to do these rules on it. So,
Yeah.
if you find yourself trying to moderate and putting the rules on yourself, that should be a good indicator right there that your relationship with alcohol is probably not so great, and it was always hell, because every time I would go back to it or break my rules, that frustration, the stress, the disappointment in myself would really hit me hard. And what do we want to do when we're drinkers? When we feel that way, we want to drink. And so
Yeah.
it just goes hand in hand together. And that's why, it's October currently, and people, maybe doing the sober October thing. And it's like the alcohol companies absolutely love this. You would think, oh, they don't like that. We don't want people not drinking. But what happens is, people do this. Okay, I'm going to stop drinking for this 30 days and jump on the bandwagon here. But then day 32, it's like, oh, I'm going to go back to it. And the alcohol companies know that. And then that disappointment in ourselves is going to set in, and we're going to be right back to drinking more. And it's just so freaking frustrating that we keep doing this to ourselves. And so it honestly is so much easier when you just make the decision to be done, and you don't have to think about it. Because I did the moderation game and all that for about 4 or 5 years, and it just, oh my God, the disappointment in myself, the not trusting myself, all this stuff was just heavy, man. And then once I said, you know what, I'm not playing that game anymore. I'm not going to take a break for 30 days. I'm not going to try to stop. I'm just going to be done. I'm a non-drinker. And that way I don't have to make those decisions. I don't have to think about if I'm going to drink this weekend or if my friends invite me out. No, I'm a non-drinker. So, I mean, would you agree? It's so much easier to go that route.
That's set up perfectly. I think it's a Michael Jordan quote that he says, it's easier to do something 100% of the time than 99% of the time, because otherwise you're going to be focused on that 1%. And I'll use the analogy of dieting too, right? If you have that one cheat day of the week, that's what you're going to be focused on, right? Oh, that's that day I get to have donuts. I get very similar, right? So there's a good analogy for anybody that doesn't quite understand that. If you're listening for a loved one that does have issues with alcohol, think of it that way, because I think everybody can relate to like the dieting or the limiting of yourself in that way. So there's definitely a parallel with dieting as there is to these moderation attempts with alcohol, isn't there?
Yeah. Oh, definitely. Definitely. And the thing that is hard for people, and it was for me, was when you think of cutting it out of your life completely, it can be very scary, because, if you've had alcohol in your life for a long period of time and it's always been there, it's like a trusty pal. You might look at it that way, even though it's definitely not. That's bullshit. It's not. It's really just literally trying to kill you. But we look at it that way, and we put it up on this pedestal, and we romanticize about it. And so the thought of going, wow, geez, I'm just not going to have this in my life at all, can be super overwhelming. And I think that's what leads to the moderation game, where it's like, okay, I know that I'm not my best self with alcohol. I know it is hindering a lot of things, and it's making me feel like crap, but I don't know if I can fully say goodbye to it.
Yeah, man.
And when you're playing that game of 1 foot in an alcohol-free life or sobriety and 1 foot in, but I still kind of like it and I feel like I need it. That's hell. That is so much unnecessary pain that you're putting yourself through. And so I would just encourage you, and this is what we help our clients with, like, close that door, man. Just shut it all the way. Don't leave it open a little crack and hope that, all right, once I get this thing under control, I'll be able to be a normal drinker and go back to it. Because as long as that's toying around in your head and playing in there, you're torturing yourself, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, absolutely. And to be honest, like my personal experience, harken back what you said at the beginning, how we're able to help people is like, we've lived this, right? My personal experience is moderation was way harder for me, harder on my body, harder on me mentally than just drinking every day. Because drinking every day, at least I'm like, well, I'd reserved myself. I kind of at least had some common ground every day, where the moderation was so up, down, all around. Man, I was shit talking myself so much. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't figure this out. So yeah, man, like you said, hell, like when you're sort of in that middle ground and there's no real foundation for you to stand on. Geez, yeah, it was incredibly painful for me for those 4 years.
Yeah, absolutely. And, the thing is, if you could moderate your drinking, you already would be,
Yeah.
Just ask yourself, like, okay, can I moderate? Can I moderate? Well, then you would be. If you
Sure.
were one of these people that could have a drink and then not think anything of it for a couple of weeks and, you're not addicted to it, there are people out there that can do that. They haven't crossed that line yet. But once you have, it's just like a part of you needs to accept that you're not a person that can dabble in it. Because look, alcohol is highly addictive. I want to reiterate this because I had no clue how addictive it is. It is the second most addictive substance on the planet, only behind heroin.
Wow.
So, if you moderate with a substance that's highly addictive, what do you think eventually is going to happen? Because you may be able to moderate for a little bit, but by nature, it's an addictive substance. You're going to want to keep coming back to it because of the dopamine that you're getting. We could go down that whole rabbit hole, but it's like, you just have to make that decision. And why would you want to moderate? Like if somebody said, hey man, I'm thinking about cutting down on my heroin habit, but I'm only going to shoot up on Tuesdays. Would you be like, yeah, that's great, I think that's a good idea? You'd be like, hell no, just move the hell away from it. And stay away from it, because it is so much easier that way.
Yeah, dude. And it's like, and some of the other things that we talk about too, the analogy of like the abusive partner, right? Where, there's some time you can look back and like you say, the romanticized part is like, yes, we had some good times. But if you're in an abusive relationship, you're not going to be like, well, you know what, I'll spend some weekends with them because we have all this time together, you know what I mean? And I'll go there, I'll get the shit kicked out of me on the weekend. That's, because like we had this relationship in the past, like you're not going to do that either, right? It's just goofy when you look at it like that too.
Yeah. And I wanted to harken back. I remember what I was going to say now about, when you stop for a little bit and you have a drink every once in a while, every time you take a drink of alcohol, can stay in your system for up to 2 weeks. And so you're going to put yourself back on that hamster wheel of feeling like crap, feeling tired, that energy is not going to be there. And so you never get that full clarity that comes when you are far enough away from alcohol. We were just, really one of our clients, Jessica, celebrating 1 year freaking alcohol free today.
Yes.
And she was talking on our group call the other night about how it took until day 66 until she started to feel good and normal and like, okay, I see what's happening here. And the corner started to turn. And so if you keep coming back, even to just have one drink here and there, you're resetting all of that. And then it's like, it's torture. Just break free and keep running. Run, and work on yourself. Personal development, growth, like all these things come into it. So yeah, man, the moderation game is just not going to work.
Right.
And I hope that you're listening to this, and I hope it sinks in, because no matter how many times I talk to people about that, I still get asked all the time. Somebody said the other day, like, can you hypnotize me to moderate? And I said, no, because I might be able to for a little bit, but eventually alcohol is going to do its job and get you back addicted to it. So why would you want to? So yeah, it's hell to moderate.
It is. Yeah. That's, I mean, that's a pretty good place to wrap up. I also, just want to mention, like, a couple podcasts ago, a couple weeks ago, if you guys look in our back catalog, we have a podcast on threshold moments, and you touched on that. And it's worth perhaps summarizing that a little bit. Is like, you're talking about when you get to that stage, when you've crossed the line with alcohol, where you say it's like, it's done, it's got its claws in you, so to speak. And once you've passed that threshold, to your point, there's really no going back. At that point, you can't, moderation is no longer a part of the question.
Yeah. And look, that may be a sad reality. It was for me.
Sure,
like, oh, okay, I've crossed this line. You have to accept, like, you're not a person that can drink alcohol. But you know what's great about that is that alcohol is not helping anybody in any way. Anybody who drinks alcohol is drinking poison. So it's okay that you are not a person that can ingest it. You will be much better off for it. And it's not sad. It's not bad. You're giving up one thing that, again, is trying to kill you. It's ruining your life to gain all these other wonderful things. And just keep the focus on that. Really get excited about where you're going. And that is definitely what we want to help our clients with. It's not about the doom and gloom. It's not about the, oh man, I wish I could drink, but I can't. No, that's no way to live, in my opinion. So if you are listening to this, first of all, please give us a review, a 5-star review. That always helps. Sharing it with people. We want this to get out to more and more people. What else can they do to help us out here?
Those are the big ones. Yeah. 5-star and a review that accompanies the 5-star review on on Apple Podcasts is like tremendously helpful for us. So anybody that hears this, just give us some love that way. It'd be a massive help for us. And on Spotify, it's just a matter of following us, and just share it with anybody that you figure that will get some use out of this. That'd be a massive help for the reach of the podcast. So thank you very much for that.
Yeah, I think we ranked in like the top 100 last week. I got a notification that we were like 74th or something. I'm like, hell yeah. All right.
Yes. Climbing the ranks, baby.
I'll take it, man. So we appreciate the support. Thank you for listening. If you don't follow us on social media, you can find me. I'm at Coach by Chris. And we also have coachbychris.com, a Facebook group, Freedom from Alcohol, same name as the podcast. Go join that community. It's a wonderful place. Where can they find you, Matt?
Yeah, I'll be at recoveryroadmap.me on Instagram and TikTok. And of course, I'm very active as you are in the Freedom from Alcohol Facebook group. I do want to make a quick correction, Chris. It's like, I believe the name where you type it in is I Want Freedom from Alcohol on the Facebook. Either way, if you were on the Facebook, listen to me. If you were to
hey there, go open the Facebook.
Come on the Facebook, eh? My Canadian heritage is showing through. I'm not even from East Coast.
Right.
So either way, you'll be able to find it. It's pretty obvious, but just a mild correction.
Yeah, Facebook.com/I Want Freedom from Alcohol, or if you just search Freedom from Alcohol, hopefully it will come up.
Exactly.
Either way, you should be able to find us. I hope. We have links, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
but and if you're interested in working with us one-on-one, we have a great community. We help people break free from alcohol. We help you lose the desire for it. That's the big key that we help people with, so that you just don't want it in your life and then move forward, right? Shifting your identity to that of a non-drinker. And so if you're interested in that, go to coachbychris.com and get a hold of me that way. That'd probably be the best way. So, all right, brother. We will great chat. We'll chat next week, and hopefully Lauren will be back with us then. So take it easy.
Totally. Thanks, everybody.